All right. So, for those of you who don't know, my name is Brittany Purcell. I run a great real estate team and a property management division here in Northeast Georgia. And we cover everywhere from Athens to Covington to Gainesville and the North Georgia mountains. We have a great team and a lot of amazing agents and our staff, everything. So, if you ever need anything, I'm here for you, whether that be guidance on your real estate career or if you need any help in some of the areas that we cover. So I assume today that you are a real estate agent and maybe you're just like me and my agents that, you realize that the market has shifted a little bit. You might have some closings falling apart. You might have some deals that are harder to put together right now. And so I wanted to take a step back into the foundation of real estate today and teach you guys what it takes to build a successful, sustainable, repeatable business and doing it on a budget. Because when I got started, we were living on WIC. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that, where the government gives you a stipend for food. We were living on one income and I didn't have a lot of money and I had a baby on my hip, essentially. So I had to figure out a way to grow my business when we didn't have a lot of money to spend. It was a big enough expense for me just to pay my monthly office dues at my real estate office. And the rest of it I needed to be free or next to free. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of those ideas and the ways that I've done that. And these are the things that I continue to coach our current agents on, because the best business is free business. Do we buy leads now? Yes, but I'm 17 years into the business. I still prefer the free, simpler ways to get business and build relationships. So we're going to dive into that. Let me share my screen and pull up our presentation for the day. Come on, computer. All right. So growing your business on a budget. I put over here, if I can do it, you can too. When I got started in real estate, I was it's still in college, and I was working other jobs. So I did not have a ton of experience in sales. I did not even own my own home yet. And I didn't have a lot of proper training, so to speak. So if I figured it out, I promise you can too. So one of the things that I tell our agents is this little quote here at the bottom: business doesn't have to be expensive, but you have two choices. You're either going to spend money or you're going to spend time and energy. If you're like me and you're short on funds, or you're frugal, or you really just want to build this with the least amount of input of cash as possible, then we have to adopt the second option. And that second option is time and energy. And as you guys come in, I might mute you if you have not already. There we go. At the heart of every business, guys, is your heart as an entrepreneur. You got into this, you want to serve people, you want to build an income, you want to grow your name, you want to support yourself or your family. There's this drive that comes from an entrepreneur, but the only thing that really holds you back is the number of people that think of you when they think of real estate. And it's important for you to think about that, because so many people have a real estate license right now. There is a huge number of real estate licenses because the market was so good for the past couple of years. A lot of people got their license. You might be one of those people. And so when things are good, everybody gets their license. And then when things change, we have to ebb and flow with it. We have to change our strategies, change our scripts, change our approach. Some people will change quickly and others will not. And it'll take those other people a little while to get out of business. And so while they're still in the business, they're still your competition. So if you go down the street and you go to a barbecue with one of your friends and you talk to every single person in there, say there's 20 people that come, I would bet that each of those 20 people knows an average of 3 real estate agents. So you got to ask yourself, how do I stand out? How do I make it to where when they think of real estate, they think of me? This is also known as branding, by the way, if you are unfamiliar with it. It's a simple way to say it, but who thinks of me when they think of real estate? So your job every day as a real estate agent, you might think your job is showing houses. You might think your job is going on listing appointments. You might think your job is negotiating contracts or taking photos of the listing or putting it into the MLS. But really, your job every day, look at this bottom line on the screen, your job every day is to feed your database and nurture the relationships you build. You really have no other job other than that. And I'm going to explain to you guys that working on a database, now some of you might not have a huge database. When I say database, I'm talking about people you know, people that if you walked through the grocery store, you might, hang on just a second. Sorry. You might walk through the grocery store or go to a ball game or something like that. And they're people that you would recognize and they would recognize you as well. That is your database. Let's talk about that a little bit because some of you may not have one. Right? You may go, well, I just moved to this area. Or you could have been like me. And when I was in college, none of my friends had any money. So I had a database of people who were not interested in buying or selling real estate at all. They didn't have the money to. And so I had a different type of job. Some of you guys get into real estate and you have already been involved in your community. You've volunteered in your community. You've done all these things already. And so I'm going to teach you the systems that go behind it and help you, continue to get business out of your database. But some of you have to start with step number one. And this is going to be a breakdown of what we're going to be covering today. You have 4 steps in your database. Number 1 is to grow it. Every single one of you should have a goal to have 200 people or more in your database with at least one type of contact information. When agents start on our team, they have to have that day one. If you can't get to 200, you get as high as you can, and then you start looking for ways to grow it. So we'll get to that in just a minute. If you already have 200, then maybe go to 500. If you already have 500, then go to 1,000. Regardless, you want the number to push you, and you need at least one type of contact information per person. And again, this is not just random people, I've had people come to me and say, well, I've been in the car sales industry and I've got thousands of people who I've talked to. Okay, well, you have thousands of people you've talked to, but if you saw them at a sporting event, would you recognize them? If you saw them at the grocery store, would you recognize them? Would they recognize you? If no, then they're just general population. They're not really your database or your sphere of influence. So you're looking to pull people into having a relationship with you and then having the awareness of what you do. The next thing that we're going to dive into after that is nurturing, how to nurture those relationships strategically so that you are continuing to build a relationship with them and you are continuing to make sure that your name and your face are being associated with, I sell real estate. And maybe it's the type of real estate or the location of the real estate or whatever it is that you specifically do that no one else does or few people do. And of course, the part that we're all really happy about is our job is to serve those clients that come out of our database. And the more we serve, the more referrals and testimonials and things like that we can get that help us continue the cycle. And then we're going to repeat the cycle all over again. If you're looking for a long-term career in real estate, this is the formula. This is the same formula that I have been following. We're on track to close over 250 transactions this year. It all comes from this right here. Literally before this call, I was working in my database for what I do every day. And I was making sure that people were in it, that they were updated, and that I was nurturing them to the best of my ability. I am still doing this every day, day in and day out in my career, 17 years in. So it's the foundation. It is the absolute foundation. So let's dive in just a little bit. If you're working on growing your database, let's assume that you have nobody right now, or you have your social media, you have your phone, maybe you have some email addresses saved in your email account. Maybe you even have a CRM through your company, whatever brokerage you're at right now, and you have some names in there. Your first goal is to document every single person that you know. Sit down. If you like to drink, have a glass of wine, sit down with it. If you don't drink, have a glass of hot tea, herbal tea, whatever makes you happy, and sit down with either a spreadsheet or a piece of paper and start writing down everyone's names that you know. One of the things that I start with is I look through my text messages because I'm a big texter and a big phone caller on a regular basis. So I start with that list. Like, who have I actually talked to recently? Start there. Then I can move over to my contacts list in my phone, which has all kinds of, even like the AT&T customer service number. That's not going to go in my database, but I can scroll through it and go past it. But I'm going through there looking for, would I recognize this person, Robert Smith? Would I recognize him if I saw him at, the next sporting event, that kind of thing. Think about, then go to your social media. Ask yourself about go through your friends list, everybody that's local, everybody that's in groups that you're in that you see. Start making that list of people that you know and one form of communication. Now, I tell people if you only have them on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, then you're just going to write that that's the way that you have to get a hold of them right now. We're just looking for one method of communication to begin with. And then you're going to add as you start talking to these people later. The other thing I want you to think about is a lot of you might be parents, or you might be involved in groups that you already participate in, and you're not thinking about those things as your sphere of influence. I have a girl on our team who plays, she is Hispanic, she's bilingual, she's like fiery. I love her to death. And she plays adults in an adult soccer league, right? And almost all of the people in the adult soccer league are Spanish speaking or bilingual themselves. And I said, girl, that is a huge database. Would you recognize those people if you went to the grocery store and you saw one of them? She said, oh yeah, absolutely. I said, then they are part of your database, right? Say your kids are in school. Who are their teachers, right? What are the businesses you frequent? Are you, do you go to the doctor? Do your kids go to the doctor? Do you have pets? Do you take them to the veterinarian? Are you making friends and building relationships with all of those people that you know and acknowledging who they are and putting them in your database? Every single person you know and touch needs to be in your database at some point. Right now, we're just looking for one form of communication, right? Their name and one form of communication. And then if you have more than that, you want to log it. There are ways to pull up information like tax records and things like that to pull up people's home addresses. But, there's some other creative ideas that we're going to go with in just a minute. Another reminder is log spouses as a second person. They're not one person, Amy and Joe Robertson. Their names are two separate names. They have two different databases. They work in two different places. They have two different circles of influence. So they are two people, right? They're not in as one. They're going to be treated as two. So don't sell yourself short there. And like I said in the past slide, the first goal is to get to 200. If you get to 200 and you have more, keep going. Set your goal to 500. If you got to 500, then set your goal to 1,000. You want to have as many people in your database as possible, but you really want a minimum of 200 to start with. So some of you are going to go, oh gosh, I don't know if I have 200 people. What am I going to do? That's where we have to look at different ways to grow your database and add relationships. Because again, remember, our number one goal is to get as many people as possible that recognize your name and associate it with real estate when a real estate question comes up or a real estate need comes up. So, think about what are your interests? If your only interest is work, we might need to add some more interests in there and start to diversify your life so that we can add more ways for you to build relationships. But some of the things that you can do, just like I talked about one of our agents being in an adult soccer league, what about her kid playing rec soccer and all of the parents that are, sitting on the bleachers? Are you building relationships with them? Are you building relationships with the rec sports? Do you have a hobby? Is it art? Is it a sport? Is it Is it crocheting? Is it needlework? Is it fishing? What is it? And what are those hobbies that you have? And start leaning into groups that brainstorm around those things, or talk about those things, or book trips and things like that. What you want to do is get involved with something that you already like, but you're meeting people that have a similar interest. So you have a connection. First of all, it's going to make your life much more fun because you're going to be participating in things that are not just work, but then you're building your sphere of influence as well. And you're building that circle around you of people who know you, like you, and want to do business with you. If I was trying to force it, and I like horses, I like riding horses, I like owning horses, I love it on horses, I like everything that has to do with them. My husband likes fishing. Neither one of us likes the other thing. So I would never join a fishing group, right? I would have nothing to talk about. But he would also never do anything that had to do with the horses. And we have to understand that your hobbies should come intrinsically from you, something that you're actually interested in. I mean, it could even be a book club, right? Clubs, thinking about businesses that you work with. Volunteering is huge. Volunteering in nonprofit organizations, your religious groups, whether that be church or synagogue or anything else, any place where you can go ahead and lean into something that you're passionate about, but associating with other people who are passionate about it as well. Volunteering for the boards on those things like nonprofits is a great way to build relationships. Business networking. Think about business networking groups like your BNIs, your Chamber of Commerce, your I can't even think of the other names of plenty of business networking groups that are going to be listed on like Facebook. They're going to be listed in local groups. They're going to be listed in your local newspaper or the newspaper's website, since everything's moved to online. Think about businesses that you've worked with. I mean, each one of you being in real estate, you have vendors that you have called upon. You have closing attorneys, you have mortgage lenders, you probably have house cleaners, handymen, carpet cleaners, all kinds of different people that need to be in your database. Now, if you are, if you really don't have any of that, or you're still working on all that, some of the best ways, if you look right over here, holding open houses. You may not have a listing right now, but maybe somebody in your brokerage does, and they would be willing for you to hold an open house. The people that walk into that open house are people that get added to your database as you build a relationship with them. Before you hold the open house, you should door knock or call the neighborhood and tell the neighbors about it. And as you build relationships with them in those conversations, that's a great way for you to add people to your database as well. Circle prospecting is a great way to say, like, just a random neighborhood or a random area, or associated with the open house that you're holding, and say, hey, I'm holding an open house. I'd really love to invite you. And by the way, if you did ever move, where would you move to? Right. And every time you start one of those conversations, you dive in a little bit further to a relationship, and you make sure that anytime you click with somebody and you start to build that relationship, they go in your database, period. Another thing that you can do is hold seminars. Some of you may have heard of like some buyer seminars and seller seminars, investing seminars. You may have a specialty that's commercial or otherwise. Holding classes just like the one that I'm holding today, this doesn't cost me anything to hold. This is a free way to get in front of people. And you can hold these things online and get people to register so that you have their contact information and you can build a relationship with them over time. If you've never read the book, I would advise you to read the book 7 Levels of Communication by Michael Maher, Maher. Phenomenal book that talks about ultimately the highest level of communication that you can have with your database is teaching them something that they don't already know. So if you want to work with buyers, sellers, commercial investors, or any of the above, people who are trying to flip land, whatever it is that your niche is in real estate, becoming the expert and then teaching people how to do it will absolutely solidify you as an expert in their mind and help with the branding of your name with that association. I've also got social media contests and giveaways. One of the things that I've noticed is I have a lot of friends on Facebook, and sometimes it's the only way that I have to reach out to them. So one of the ways that I get people's contact information and get them into my database is we hold giveaways. Little tip, I usually ask a vendor, like a closing attorney, a lender, or whoever is trying to get agent business. I say, hey, can you help me by sponsoring a giveaway? It can be as small as like a $25 or $50 item, or it can be as big as like we've given away a Blackstone grill, we've given away a kayak. Those are bigger expenses, but we have a bigger team. So we have a little bit more budget there. But the way to control your budget is to have somebody else sponsor it. When you have them sponsor it, you can do what I like to call a reverse prospecting day, where you do the giveaway and you ask all of your people on social media to register for a callback or to call into you to register for the giveaway, whatever the giveaway is. Well, on your registration form, you can use a Google form. They're free, right? This is all about doing things on a budget. You get them to register with all the contact information you want. What's your name? What's your email? What's your phone number? And the best mailing address for you? And do you have any real estate related needs right now? That can be your questions. And what it does is it gets you the contact information to grow your database so that you can nurture them. But it also goes ahead and asks them right then and there if they have any needs. The last giveaway that we did was exceptional. We took just out of my list alone, we had 17 agents participate, but my list alone, we picked up 2 listings for a little over $1 million in volume sold. So they wouldn't have told me otherwise if they were thinking about moving. It was awesome because I'm sitting there talking to them. We're giving away a Blackstone grill, and I go through the questions and I go, great, I just have one more question for you to finalize your registration. And they said, sure, what is it? I said, do you have any real estate related needs right now that I should be serving you with? And they said, actually, we've been thinking about selling the house and we're just not sure what it's worth. Oh, okay. Well, let me take a look at my schedule. Do you think I could come out maybe tomorrow or the next day and take a look at it? And I can give you guys an idea of what it's worth. And boom, you've got a listing appointment right there, right? So there's lots of different ways to grow your database. You just have to get creative and say, how can I meet people? And how can I meet people on a budget? All right. Next step is to nurture. You have to nurture the relationships. Nobody else can do it for you. And you're not going to be able to email and text your way through this and send them just email blasts. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to take your time and energy all the time. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go through your list and you're going to start closing the gap in contact information. I gave you an idea of one way, doing that giveaways to get people to close the gap. The other thing is you can just directly ask them. You can send them a message on Instagram or Facebook and say, hey, I would love to be able to add you to my real estate database for my real estate career. Could I have the best email and phone number for you? Or you can go and schedule your event. Maybe your event is a giveaway. Maybe you're inviting them to an event that's already existing and you're going to be attending it. And you can say, I have an event coming up and I'm missing some of your contact information. I'd like to send you an invite. What's your best phone number and email? Right. Another thing is to use events, invitations, holiday cards, etc., for a reason to reach out. I love to just call people and talk about real estate, but sometimes they don't want to talk about real estate every time. So if we're looking for information, one of the tips that I like to give people is use a reason to get their contact information, like the holiday cards. Hey, I'm going to be sending out some New Year's cards. I'm going to be sending out some announcements at the beginning of the year. I would love to put you on the list. What's the best email for you? That kind of thing. And your goal is to have all types of contact information, but it's okay if you only get a few. I mean, 17 years in, I've got a lot of people in my database. I still have people that I only have a phone number or only have an email for, and we're just working to get better and better each day. I want you to hear me in this. 17 years in, and it's still not perfect. You will never perfect it. You're only going to make it a little bit better every year. You're looking to grow and develop and get more contact information and more touches, more nurtures, and better relationships. But again, perfect is not the goal. If we're looking for perfect, you're just going to overwhelm yourself, because most of us got into this because we're people, not because we're computer people or technology people or whatever. So just a little bit at a time. Let's talk about what needs to be in your nurture. Your nurturing of your database needs to be clear. It needs to be of value. It needs to be of value, not to you, but to them. And it needs to make sure that they understand that you're in real estate. Okay. So social media does not always have to be about real estate, but a couple of tips to keep your social media balanced is I usually say out of every 5 posts, maybe 1 is about business. So you'd have personal, and then business. And you want to make sure that you're keeping your social media clean and clear of religion and politics and things like that. Anything that is super negative, you want to keep that off of your social media. You want to have your social media be a place where people want to land and they feel comfortable and confident. And then every once in a while, you throw in something about real estate. And again, it needs to be of value to them. So, thinking about the way that you interact with people, are you just liking their stuff and just posting every once in a while? Or are you commenting and direct messaging? Are you actually using social media to build relationships, not just liking? Because if you just like it every once in a while, you might show up in their feed, you might not. And they're definitely, you're in one ear and out the other. They may not even know who you are if you're just scrolling, just posting occasionally and just liking things. The other thing is to make sure that you're showing like your personal life a little bit on social media. People love kids and dogs and activities and hiking and sports, and they like to see that kind of thing. And they like to see videos, and make sure that if you're interacting, that you're kind of intertwining your personal and your professional life on there. Now, your next goal, this is where people hesitate the most. I think it's because social media and technology have really taken over, but we are looking to get people on the phone at least 6 times a year. That's every other month. You need to be talking to your database and saying, how are you? That's it. You don't have to say much more, guys. You don't have to have some fancy script. You don't have to know exactly what you're going to say. You can just say, how have you been? You had you on my mind. And if you looked at their social media, you could check in on something that's happened for them, or you could invite them to an event. You could tell them happy Thanksgiving when Thanksgiving is coming up. You could tell them happy 4th of July. You can do any and all things. They don't necessarily have to say, hey, do you want to buy or sell real estate? But you do want to talk to them. And here's a little tip. If you ask them how their work is going, they are inevitably going to ask you how your work is going. So if you want somebody to ask you about real estate, ask them about their work. Okay. And get them on the phone. That's the piece, by the way. The phone and the face-to-face are the 2 things that are going to hold you back, and they're going to limit your relationships. It's going to make those relationships C and D relationships when they could really be A+ relationships, is that phone call, actually talking to them or seeing them. And then automated, I'd like to see that you have 2 emails a month going out to them. And if you can afford it, physical mail going out every month as well. Now, physical mail, you'll have to make sure that you have a budget for, but you can do the rest of this stuff for free. So email, let's talk about that. What is of value to a potential client? Well, generally, if they own real estate, then what's of value to them is what's going on in the area around them. So you need to be looking at market stats. Many of your brokerages offer some type of email blast that goes out that helps identify what's going on in the real estate market. If they don't, then you can also put together your own. You can put together a video that you record and put on YouTube, and you can email it out and say, this is what I'm seeing going on in the real estate market. If you want to know how this impacts you and your real estate, give me a shout. Do not send out recipe cards or anything that has nothing to do with real estate. Because if you want somebody to associate you with grandma's recipe, that's great, but you're really reaching out to them about real estate. You want them to know that you are the local expert, and you know what you're talking about, and you're here to help with anything that they need. All right, serving our clients. This is another piece that that sometimes people miss, right? They're eager to serve, but they don't really work on their business like a true professional. And if they are working like a true professional, they're doing things like going to classes like the ones that you guys are in right now, learning how to do better. They're pricing homes appropriately and guiding their clients on how to price appropriately. They have the best available marketing strategies. You've associated with the right brokerage to make sure that you have the best marketing available and that your listings are getting shown, to other people. When you take listings, you're doing professional photography and you're not skimping and taking cell phone photos. Great communication is a sign of a great real estate agent, right? Great communication is so imperative. So if you want to serve your clients, you've got to communicate well and in the way that they want to communicate. You've got some millennials who would prefer a text message, so you need to be text messaging them. If you've got somebody who loves email because they're a doctor and they only have between these hours and this hours to talk to you because they're on call, that's how you need to communicate with them. And then there's going to be people that really need a phone call. And I usually say if it's something really big in a good way or really big in a bad way, then we're going to have a phone call anyway, regardless. Following a checklist. Do you have a checklist for your buyers and sellers? Did you know that you can Google that kind of thing and say, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I want a contract to close checklist to make sure that I'm doing everything that I need to do. You might add and take away things that you find on those lists, but you need a checklist no matter what. Are you holding seminars and teaching people things? Are you saying the right thing in the right moment? Are you studying and practicing the right things to say, the scripts, as I call them? Are you under promising and over delivering? Are you paying attention to the market and paying attention to what offerings and tools and things like that might save your client money? Do you know about the special financing options? Do you know about ways to save them money? Do you know, what some of the things we've been talking about on our team lately are things like, how do I sell a mobile home to somebody that's getting FHA financing? How do I know that a mobile home will work for USDA financing? How do I know if a loan is assumable? How do I know what types of loans work for different houses? Blah, 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 blah. All of these things that are pieces of our real estate career. It's our job to learn them and sharpen our saw as much as we possibly can so that we can continue to make a great impact and be of value to our clients. This is a big one for me. A kicker for me is, are you keeping professional hours? Are you treating this like a six-figure profession? Because you can make six figures and more, but you got to treat it as if it deserves it. So if you're the type of agent that's sending text messages to other agents at 9 p.m., 10 p.m., maybe you're not serving your client to the best of your ability, right? Keeping professional hours is part of being a professional. Are you associating with great lenders and attorneys? Are you being responsive? When somebody sends you a message, are you getting back to them as quickly as possible or as reasonable? Of course, during business hours. Thinking about all of these things together, there's a lot that goes into serving our clients and serving them well. But here's the thing, when you serve one client well, you've got the ability to go get reviews and testimonials. You've got the ability to ask them for referrals. You also have the ability to do business with them again. There's been a lot of clients that use us over and over and over again because they're pleased with the service. They know what to expect. right? It's not going to be a surprise. They know how to communicate with us. They know what tools we're using, and they know we've got their backs every time, because real estate can be complicated, right? So serving those clients well requires you to do exactly what you're doing today, which is sharpening your saw day in and day out. The next piece of this is to repeat. As you work with great clients, you want to make sure you're asking them for referrals. I ask for the referral from the get-go, like the first listing appointment, the first buyer consult. If they've chosen to work with me and I've chosen to work with them, I'm getting a referral immediately. Hey, by the way, there's people just like you probably that are thinking about moving. And there's like this weird phenomenon that happens that when you're thinking about moving, you attract all the other people that are thinking about moving. So as you're going through your day, you've likely come across somebody else that's thinking about making a move. Are any names like coming to mind as we're talking about it? I would love an introduction to them. And as we're going through this transaction, if you come across any more, please let me know. Throw me in a group text message with them and make a warm introduction. I would love to help people just like you. I ask for the referral straight out of the gates. Then every time something wonderful happens in the transaction, I ask for that referral again. And then after the transaction is over, the day that we go to closing, I ask for a testimonial. Now, use your best judgment. If it has been a roller coaster ride and they are not in a good place, do not ask for the testimonial. Be smart. You're going to get a 1-star instead of a 5-star. But if everything has been going well, ask them for the testimonial. Send them wherever it is that you want them to go. Send them to either your Facebook business page or your Google business page, or just ask them to write you a review that you could share on social media. It's nice if they put it on one of those platforms, whether it's Yelp, Google, Facebook, etc., any of those. And then you can take it and make yourself like a little design if you want to on something like Canva for free that puts that review out there, and then you can share it, on your social media. But because then it's permanently on the other one, now you get to share it as much as you want. And if they don't fill it out right away, say that all they're thinking about that day is moving and they just got a lot on their plate, a week later, send them one more text with the link again and say, hey, I'm not sure if you had a chance to do a testimonial. It means a lot to me and it helps me grow my business. I would love it if you'd take 5 minutes to write me one. And you get the review and you wash, rinse, repeat, right? Every person they refer to you or connect you with goes back in your database. Every person. So when you're thinking about like your goal in real estate, your goal is to grow your database, feed that database, add people to it every single day, then nurture that database, continue to build relationships with those people, and to make sure that their awareness of you in real estate is the number one thing. When they think about real estate, they go, oh man, Samantha Adams, she's the one that I got to use, right? She knows everything. She's got all the connections. If she can't help us, she'll know somebody that can. And then you wash, rinse, repeat over and over and over again. What questions do you guys have for me on this topic? Anybody that has anything that they would like to add? Any specific challenges that you're worried about would come up for you in creating your database or talking to your database, anything that I can help you overcome while you have me. I've been a top real estate coach for over a decade. I would love to help if you have a question. You have to come off mute though.
I have a question.
Hey, April.
Hey, so if you haven't been asking for referrals, but you have a lot of past clients, is it too late to go back and say, so how would you approach that conversation?
So the way I would approach it is I would make a list and I'd pick a day and I'd make sure I had my coffee in the morning, got my energy right and all of the good things. And I would go down that list that day, April, And I would call each person and I would start the conversation with, hey, April, it's Brittany. How are you?
Good.
Awesome. How's the house that I sold you guys?
Oh, it's been amazing. We
Awesome.
love it.
Awesome. I saw on Facebook or whatever, maybe I looked at your Facebook recently or something, I would love to look at it before I called you. I saw on Facebook that your husband got a promotion. That is so exciting. What's he doing now?
Oh gosh, he's a senator.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so much fun.
Yeah,
Is he hard on you for him to be in politics?
sure.
Yeah.
Some,
I would literally just have a freaking conversation. That's going to be where we start, April, because
uh-huh.
these are my friends. These are people that I've lost contact with. I need to check in on them. I want to help. And honestly, like me being 100% transparent with you, depending on how that conversation goes, it's either going to go one of two ways. I'm either going to say, is there anything that I can do to help you guys right now? Like, do you need any vendors? Do you need, painters, cleaners, repair people, anything like that that I can do to serve you? Because I've got some really great connections. So I'd start there. I'm coming from contribution. How can I help you right now? If I feel like this conversation could go to the next step, then my next step is going to be asking them for a referral and say, hey, I loved working with you and your family and finding you that house. I would love to work with more people just like you. Is there anyone you can think of that might be looking to buy or sell that I should be in touch with right now?
Um, I can't think of anybody right now, but I will keep it in mind.
I really appreciate that because, referrals are the lifeblood of my business. And if I could work with more people like you and your husband, it would be amazing because you guys were just so much fun to work with. So if you think of anybody or you come across somebody, just throw me in a group text message and I'll take it from there and see if I can help them no matter what.
That sounds great.
Awesome. And if you guys need anything for the house, anything locally, anything like that, you just keep me on speed dial. Okay. Don't be a stranger.
I appreciate that.
And that's exactly how I would handle that conversation. Let's say that conversation went a little sideways. Maybe something's going on at the house, or maybe they're not happy and it doesn't feel like the right moment to ask for a referral. Then I'm just going to go from contribution and I'm going to ask them if I can do anything to help. And then when they give me something to help with, I'm actually going to try to help. Right. I'm actually
Okay.
try to
Yeah.
serve them and make a note. And let me see what I can find. If I can't find something, I'll let you know. But I'm going to go into my database of realtors and see if I can figure out who could help you with such and such issue. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that's happening. Or, it could be anything from me and the husband are getting divorced now. Oh my gosh, have you gotten an attorney yet? Do you need a recommendation? I always liked you more anyway. I'm just teasing. Don't actually say that. You never know if they're actually going to get back together or not. But you want to just build a relationship with them. And sometimes it's just about checking in. It's as simple as that.
Gotcha.
Sometimes we overcomplicate it and we're like, oh, am I supposed to ask? Or how do I ask? And this, that, and the other. But people live by that law of reciprocity. If you give to them first of all, it makes your job a lot more satisfying. When you are focused on other people's needs and how to serve them, makes your job a heck of a lot easier and more enjoyable. And it makes it towards the end of that conversation that they want to do something good for you. They want to give back to you. You were just giving value and adding value to them. Right. And
Gotcha.
it depends on the person. They might have picked their forever home and they might be doing really well in business. And you might know enough about them, April, that you say, have you guys considered investing yet? I'm surprised you haven't yet. And you might start down that conversation, right? You never know where it might lead, but it starts with just simply saying, have you been? How are you doing? What's going on in your world? What's going on with the house that you bought from me or sold with me or whatever it was? Hopefully they're not worried about the house they sold, but wherever it is that they're living now.
Right.
Let's see what the chat says. Brooke, with my extensive marketing plan, what's fun about it is if you are associated with a top level brokerage, the marketing is oftentimes created for you. I don't know what company you're at. I don't know, and I don't need to know. So I'm not like downing anybody. But a lot of the major brokerages already have great marketing that you can simply plug into, that you just upload your people into the database and then you start sending them marketing. Oftentimes a market report is one of my favorites. A market report is like, okay, I own a house in this area and I want to know what's going on around that area. And it's automatic in most cases. If I would check with your brokerage to see what they offer. Oh, my marketing checklist for listings. Yes. I would have to find it. It's huge. I mean, it involves putting it into the MLS. It involves our open houses that go along with it. Social media. We have a pretty extensive list, and I'd be happy to share it with you. You should have my email from me emailing out the link earlier. If you want to just email me back and say, hey, when you get a chance, would you send me your marketing checklist for listings? I'd be happy to forward it to you. It's not proprietary. It's just that we've built it over the course of 17 years and it's pretty detailed. It's got a lot. There's probably a lot that you'll go, I don't need to do that. And it's stuff that you'll delete off of it. But yeah, it's pretty detailed. And Susie, it is awesome to see you here as you're thinking about getting your real estate license. And if you'll remind me and send me an email, I've got a whole like career thing that I could show you as well as you're working on your real estate license. So it's awesome to have you here, and it's awesome to have you in the real estate career with us, because we're always looking for growth-minded, amazing people to join us. All right. Any other questions while I have you guys? All right. I'm not going to keep you. If you guys have questions, I am more than open. You can just email me. You can call me. You can text me. You can Facebook me. I hope you have a great day. Bye.